the things you remember in life are not the things that necessarily go perfect. The things you remember in life are the ups and downs and the things you have to pivot on.
This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, hosted by Chrissy Van. Together, we're uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by the Personal Training Institute. Learn how to train, gain, and maintain clients. Visit bcpti.ca. I am so excited for this one. Depending on where you're joining us from today, our guest may need no introduction. We have a Canadian pop culture icon who has made a career promoting fitness, health, and inclusivity. My guest has been a competitor on The Amazing Race, hosted over 300 broadcast television segments, traveled the world doing speaking engagements, and on this side of the border is so iconic and recognizable, he even became a Halloween costume sold at party stores across the country. Today, we're catching up with none other than Hal Johnson of BodyBreak, one half of the dynamic duo. Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod met at a gym and conceived the idea of BodyBreak to help millions of Canadians discover a new way of incorporating fitness and healthy living into their daily lives. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I went in with a game plan and we maybe followed about 2% of it. But I couldn't be happier because the conversation organically unfolded into tales of adventure, in-depth insights into how this Canadian success story not only came to fruition but thrived. And we touched on overcoming adversity and Hal graciously sprinkled in some solid life advice and perspectives he's gained throughout his many years advocating in the fitness and wellness space. Now, before we get to it, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new full-length podcast episodes weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, every other Monday, we drop a new Exercise Snacks Bite-Size Science. This is where we hear from the scientists and researchers themselves. And if you're a fan of all things fitness and wellness, it would be so appreciated if you left a star rating or review. It's the easiest way to support content creators that you engage with and enjoy. And if you want to share feedback directly with me, you can connect with me on our socials at All Things Fitness and Wellness. I'm your host, Chrissy Van. So happy you're here. This is ATFW. Like many in Canada, I've grown up with you and Joanne on my screen. And of course, that slogan that we all know so very well. But what I appreciated so much is even preparing for this podcast, how much you've used your platform to amplify some really important messages for not just the fitness industry, but us as humans. And I know that you've done that because of the adversity that you experienced even well early in your career. So a lot of people, when they hear BodyBreak, probably thought, a couple that just wanted to start a fitness segment, but that wasn't really the initial direction as I understand it. And it was actually a rescinded job offer that kind of was the catalyst. So talk to me about this TSN story from the early days.
Well, when I grew up, in the 60s and 70s, there's very few people that look like me on TV, and that it continues today and in many ways. I was going to try to break into doing television, and so when I went to TSN and I auditioned to be a broadcaster, and they initially hired me, and then they fired me that same day because the executive said that we didn't want to have two Black people on air at the same time. And this is back in 1988, April of 1988, and so it was really something that that was one of the things that kickstarted me to moving and saying, I can't simply just wait for change. I've got to make change. And so I went out and created, Joanne and I created BodyBreak. And the idea came to us on June 8th of 1988. And so it was really one of those things. In fact, friends of mine, say to me that we were one of the original YouTubers. In essence, we created this little 90-second little clip and boom, we're gone. The only difference is that today, when you go boom, you're gone on YouTube, it's you're gone, because nothing has any resonance to it. Nothing stays. Like we would, let's say, for example, shoot a ski show in 1991 in Lake Louise, and then in 1996, somebody would say to me, "Oh, I just saw you guys. You guys were out in Lake Louise skiing." I go, "No, we shot that 5 years ago." But So we had so much longevity with all of our over 300 episodes that we were seen about 15 to 1,800 times a week on 130 stations across the country. So if you tried to get away from us, you actually couldn't, because we were always there. And I think, it's like, I've even thought about, it's funny, like about 10 years ago, I said to Joanne, I said, and this is talking about YouTube, I said, what if we did our YouTube channel and it was like a BodyBreak travels with Hal and Joanne. So, because we go on all kinds of active vacations. We were in Milan and then we went to Barcelona and then we hiked through the Swiss Alps.
Incredible.
And so we did that. And then about 3 months earlier than that, we were in Dubai and we were cycling on a 85-kilometer route that's out in the desert that's just for cyclists. It's just magnificent. And so it's like, and I see that now, and YouTubers are all over the place going, here's my adventure. And I think, yeah, I thought about that 10 years ago. We could do that, and we should have. But now it's like we just finished a cycling trip this summer. I'm doing a lot of cycling, and it was on the C&O and Gap Trail from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh. So we rode 600 kilometers. And that was a nice ride. We've ridden across Michigan, and now next summer we're training. In fact, that's why I'm late for the podcast. I was just on the bike. We're going to be riding from Frankfurt to Vienna. It's about 1,400 kilometers. So it really, I wanted to kind of, and I may document that. And
I'm should. You absolutely should.
I want to do it in a different way, because when I watch all these YouTubers who do a great job, it's really very, very, some are better than others. Some are documentary filmmakers that are really good, and others are just got their iPhone out, but they're all trying and they're doing a good job. But almost all of them are doing it like the budget way to travel, and they're camping. I have great respect for them. I have no interest in camping ever. Like, in terms of, you're cycling for 120 kilometers a day. I need a bed and a shower, and a massage afterward wouldn't be a bad idea. So my thought is they're doing spots on, almost going back to the 70s with Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, is that doing something, doing the trip, but staying in the most expensive, nicest places along the route.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, that's right. So castles and 5-star and great cuisine afterwards. Because I'm watching these YouTubers, these cyclists and camping, and they're just ridden 100 kilometers, and they build their tent, and then they take out their camping supplies, and they're mixing this camp food like in a tin and eating it. I'm going, that is not appealing to me at all. But I like to sit down with a nice chicken dinner with all the fixings, and have some good protein. But anyway, those are my ideas. And then I say to myself, I go, why? And that's why do it, because you're out of the moment. And that's one of the things when I've done these trips. I put a GoPro on the front and I film it, and then occasionally Joanne and I'll do a stand-up. We don't even know why I'm doing it, in a sense, but we're in the moment of doing it. And it's like, we want to enjoy it, because so much of our 35 years, we've been actually performing in front of the camera and doing this stuff. And it's like, you kind of go, I just want to enjoy this. And so I wonder quite often about the YouTubers that I say do a terrific job, but do they enjoy in the moment of the activity?
I think you touch on something so true, that you really have to enjoy the art of creating it. Right. And also, I think having a sense of satisfaction when it's not perfect, because you'll see people, there's even accounts, Instagrammers in the wild, YouTubers in the wild, and they're like, again. And then exactly that, you're 100% not in the moment at that point. I do think you should do it though. And I definitely don't blame you, because the last thing I would want after a long bike ride is anything coming out of a package that says dehydrated.
Right. Well, it's funny, because we were on what we try to do with our trips is make our trips not just cycling. We try to make a point. Like we we went from Detroit. We drove to Detroit with our bikes, and then got on a train and went to Benton Harbor, Michigan, which is the other side of Michigan. And the reason we went to Benton Harbor is there was a concert of Vincent Agala, which is a jazz a guy who we love, was really, really good, Vincent Agala. And so we wanted to go to his concerts, an outdoor concert. So we took a train all the way to Benton Harbor, watched the concert that night, and then we rode our bikes back about, I guess, about 350 kilometers across Michigan. And we go, but it was funny that they say the things you remember in life are not the things that necessarily go perfect. The things you remember in life are the ups and downs and the things you have to pivot on. And that trip, we rode our bike to from Benton Harbor to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then we were going to take a short train ride because there was a section of highway that we didn't really want to do, and so we were going to take a short train ride to Battle Creek to miss that section, and then ride the rest of the way. Well, on that particular one, the train didn't come, and the reason the train didn't come is someone decided that they wanted to jump in front of the train. And it was like, oh my God. And I didn't realize how often that happens. The conductors were telling us about that later. Yeah. And then when we caught the next train, we get on that train and this girl is totally inebriated and she has to be taken off by the police. And she's just such an entitled, she was an entitled, I find out later, she's her family owns all these restaurants and whatever. And she's a 20-year-old and was just smashed. And it was like, I filmed it actually, which was kind of interesting.
This is why we need your travel show, by the way. Continue.
But it was so like I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is like a train travel's gone wild," and it was like it was. But we had such an adventure, and that's what Joanne and I, as we get older, we're looking for the adventure, and we're also seeing that we haven't got a lot of time left. And in respect, when you're 20. You think it's forever. You buy a house when you're 30 and you say, or 35, and you go, I'm going to live here forever. You use that forever. What you realize is we're all just renting. We're all here for such a short time. And as our time dwindles down, you realize it's dwindling down. Now, I'm fighting it. Joanne's fighting it as much as possible. But Father Time has never lost a battle. And so, maybe next year or the year after that, I won't be able to do a 1,000-kilometer bike ride. So I better do it today. And I think that's what I would tell everyone, even if you're 30, 32, 35, 40, do it today. Do your activity today. Get out and be active as much as you can, because you're going to have time to, sit on the sofa.
I appreciate that sentiment so much because it's honestly a life philosophy I live by. And I think it is so very important to capitalize on the moment. And it's exactly that. We see so many people in the days of distraction. Like, how does it feel? Because you have been at the forefront of this campaign to encourage people to keep moving, yet we still know these numbers. I believe in Canada right now, it's like 84% of people aren't getting enough activity. What do you think when you hear that, considering we have been trying to amplify this message for so long?
Well, there's so many distractions there's a tug of war between things. And in terms that exercise is really, really important. But now I think it's 80% nutrition, 20% exercise. So really, if and I tell people, if you only have $100 to spend on a nutritionist or a personal trainer, get a nutritionist. That's what I think. Nutrition is the cornerstone to everything. And so it's what you put in your body really is going to be reflective of your body. And so no exercise can outrun a bad diet. And so it's what you eat, the vitamins that you put in your body. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of vitamin D. And I get my blood test done every 6 months, my vitamin D levels, making sure that's high. I take 7,500 milligrams of vitamin D every day, which is like quadruple what the norm or average is recommended. I mean, 1,000 is recommended. I take 7,500. And so because people don't understand that how that nutrient, how that hormone, because that's what vitamin D is actually a hormone, is and it's one of the most important things you can take along with magnesium. So you put those two together, and it can really have a foundation for our immune system, for so many other things. So I thought it was like during the pandemic, and I know I bounce all over the place. I thought that the government did a terrific job. Trudeau took the lead. I mean, there's a lot of Trudeau bashers, but he did. I thought he did a tremendous job in saying, okay, being a leader. Didn't tell us to take bleach. He was, telling us to take the right thing. That idiot south of us here, what a moron he is. But it's I shouldn't say names like that. But he's not the most intelligent person on the block. But I think what Trudeau did was really good. But where he didn't do a very good job, and this on the flip side of that, is he didn't tell people, because politically it's not very good to tell people. He didn't tell people that, get out and exercise, eat, don't, just because you're at home, don't be, eating all the bad foods. Now, again, that's not Trudeau's necessary job, but the government message should have been, here's how you boost your immune system, because the
government liquor stores were open and they had lineups around the block.
Yeah. And then you go get the chips and the beer and you're watching a hockey game with no fans in it. I mean, and you're just downing it. And that's where, what the health message from both the Ontario government, where I live, and from the federal government should have been, we understand we're all going through something very different, is that, hey, this is a time to get healthy. And the healthier you are, and the studies had shown this, the healthier and stronger you are, the better you are to ward off, COVID. So why was it the elderly that, and in nursing homes, that they were not, their immune system and their system isn't as strong. So the stronger you get, the more you can fight it off. It's pretty simple, like idea. And so, and that's where I was thinking that the government really dropped the ball, and not saying, and I really believe like that the government, whether it be, because I know health is a provincial matter, for us in Canada, is that the provincial government should say, vitamin D is free to everyone, because it's so cheap. Like literally for $10, you can get a year's supply of vitamin D. And so that's where I'm a big proponent and advocate of vitamin D. And it's been interesting seeing some of the studies that come out with vitamin D and COVID. And I take my multivitamin and vitamin B12 and fish oils, and I take my regimen every morning on those things, because what you put in your body is so critically important, and we only realize this when we get sick, and when we get sick, we go and that's where I believe that people, the medical community and our health system, I think is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good compared
we
to
don't get a bill, so that's awfully nice.
Yeah, I had a knee replacement done 2.5 years ago, and from a hockey injury, and I had my knee replaced 2.5 years ago, and my bill was $275 because I had a private room. And so I go, that is pretty darn good, and so it was. I was very pleased with that. But I think that what we have to look at, there's two big messages I would say. Is one is that you are your biggest health advocate. So your doctors respond to a reaction of something that occurs, but it's up to you to take care of yourself day in and day out. And if something goes wrong, understand that your doctors aren't going to fix everything. And your doctors oftentimes are not looking, they're looking at their specialty. They're not looking at the whole picture. And I'll give you an example with my knee replacement. My knee replacement was, and any of those who are going to have a knee replacement, it is painful.
I bet the recovery must be brutal.
It is absolutely pain. It was the most painful thing. I've broken my coccyx, my tailbone. I've broken my collarbone, my wrist 4 times. I've
Said
had,
like a true adventurer.
that's right. I've broken all kinds of things. Nothing brought me to tears like the knee replacement. I mean, I broke my knee and playing hockey, and I still played the rest of the period. I mean, it just,
Of course.
and the pain that a knee replacement is it is something. And so what the doctors do, what the orthopedic surgeon, they give you medication to deal with the pain right after surgery. The second day after surgery, I was home and I walked 3 kilometers in our house. The first day, the third day, I was rocking about 5K constantly, and I was doing all the exercises, and it was, and we pushed through it. Joanne was terrific. She helped me so much, eating lots of protein, doing all the exercises, icing, all the things that you need to do. But he gave me oxycodone for the painkilling. And so I took it the first day, and I was like, I didn't feel anything because you're taking this drug. And that's what his lane is, that doctor. He wants to get you, because most people aren't going to do the exercises because it's so painful. So they need this drug to get through it. I took the medication, and on about the third it was the fourth day. It was the fourth day of taking the medication. I live on a lake here, and it's right behind me there, and I'm right next to the water. And it was February, and the water was open at one spot, and it was 2 a.m. It was minus 25 degrees, really cold. I went out on the deck with just a pair of shorts on, and I was thinking maybe I should go swimming. And I thought, you know what? I got to get off this drug. This is not right. This is just not doing it. So I called the doctor up and I said, why did you give me this stuff? Like I'm like hallucinating and the walls are moving. And he said, well, it's to get through the pain. So you do the exercises. Yeah, I'm doing the exercises, but I want to jump in the lake. So I go, this doesn't make any sense. So understanding he, as an orthopedic surgeon, did the lane of fixing the knee, but in the whole body was, my whole mind was just rejecting this stuff. And because I don't drink, so I'm not used to alcohol or anything in my system, it just went bonkers with me. And so I went off of that and I said, no, I can't do this. And he goes, well, I still want you to do the exercise. I said, don't worry, because my rehab I was here in the gym, because we've got a gym here. I was here 8 hours a day doing a whole series, from the treadmill there to the elliptical to the bike to the weight rack over there, all the different things. I said, don't worry, I'm going to do this stuff, but I cannot start hallucinating. I can't be this way. So this oxycodone that I was given, I was perplexed in two respects. One is, why would doctors give this to people? And secondly, how do people get hooked on this stuff? Because it just made me feel like out of body experience, and it was more terrifying than the knee replacement. So and that goes to my point of, you have to be your own health advocate. Don't rely on a doctor. They'll give you the information, they're the coaches, but it's you that have to go out and play every game.
And even just on that conversation of medication kind of being the first forefront, that's something we talk about all the time, where there's a lot of sick care and a lot less discussion around preventative health care, which I think can be done through nutrition and exercise. Not to say it's the be all and end all, but you nail it on the head. I always say to people, it's like your car. If you're putting sawdust in your car, why would you expect it to run well? It's just not. And your body is exactly the same thing. And I know even on the topics of medication, we've been discussing a lot the rise of the GLP-1 agonists, semaglutides, which are your Ozempic, Wegovy's, which obviously weight loss is a side effect. But again, we're creating a big discussion around that. That's all well and good. And it may be a Kickstarter for people, especially when it comes to the obesity crisis. But if you don't have any of those foundations, I mean, we know one of the side effects is not just weight loss, it's muscle loss. So you need to be able to get active as well. There is no quick fix to your pathway to health. But I will say, that's such a common term. And on the flip side, I'm kind of like, but it is a quick fix. It's moving and nutrition and eating well. And generally those things aren't a punishment, but for some reason we have our lens perception, I think, a little bit twisted.
Yeah, it's Ozempic and Ozempic. Ask your doctor. Ozempic. Go ahead. Ozempic, and I go. I look at Ozempic as kind of like an e-bike. It kind of will get you started, but if you use the e-bike all the time, just go get a moped.
Yeah.
Just like it's just like why bother? I look at e-bikes in the sense that it's great for people who are at different levels that you can keep up with somebody. It allows them to have an opportunity to get out there. But when I see like a 25-year-old out there in an e-bike, that's not what it's supposed to be for. Like it's supposed to be for like people who have an inability. And it was funny because as competitive as I am, this guy I'm riding along at I was going about 25 or so kilometers along a trail, and this e-bike passes me, and this kid, he's probably about 20, passes me. I did everything I could to catch that guy. I mean, I caught up to, and I was like going about 35, 38K on a flat surface to try to catch him. And then we started going up the hill. I was like, okay, it's getting tougher. He's just motoring along on his e-bike. And I don't know. It was, they have a place, just like Ozempic has a niche and a place for specific people, but in conjunction with actually riding the bike or in conjunction with exercise, Ozempic may play a role if it gets somebody started.
Definitely. That's by far the best analogy that I've heard over those medications. It's my favorite. So thank you for sharing that one. You do mention you are an adventurer, super competitive, and obviously your lifestyle served you in such a big way. What have been some of the biggest shifts for you as you've kind of gotten into these years where maybe you have, I mean, you did talk about all this travel, so you're still working so much. How do you balance kind of when to stop because you're such celebrated personas to truly immersing yourselves in all these moments and adventures?
Well, no, we're all of these adventures and things we're doing is for us.
Good.
It is no work. Like we're not really working that much. We don't do that many interviews anymore. We don't do Joanne doesn't do any. Like she just says
fair enough though. Like
yeah,
that's a lifetime of a lot of its effort and energy,
right.
which we appreciate you.
Yeah, she goes, I've been there, done that, and she never liked doing interviews anyway. I did most of the interviews, and so we all have a role, we all know our lane, and so when we do these things, we're doing it strictly for ourselves and going out there and because the funny thing was when we started BodyBreak now almost 36 years ago. It was strictly a reflection of our life and our lifestyle. It's like this is what we love to do. We love to get out, be active, and do it. So we coupled a couple of different things together. Our love for athletics and sports. I played baseball, and Joanne ran track and field for Canada. We both played for Canada and the Canadian national teams, and so we coupled our love for sports and athletics with a lifestyle. We always said after the first year we did BodyBreak, and we said, gee, if we could do this another year, wouldn't it be great? And Joanne says, yeah, this would be great. Yeah. And we did year 2. And then we had to reinvent ourselves, and participation dropped us, and we had to figure out how to get sponsors. And we did it again for year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, and we grew and grew and grew and grew. And it was about year 10, Joanne says, yeah, I don't think I'm going back to another job. I think this is it. So it was really that we enjoyed doing what we did. We enjoyed the ride, and so but it was really a reflection of our regular life. So was it exactly what our life was? And we goes, no, because we had to go, let's do take 3, take 4. Okay, but a lot of the times, and I credit Claude Garapy. Claude Garapy was our first cameraman, and we've had basically 2 cameramen in all of our years.
Wow.
Claude Garapy and Michael Strange, and they're incredible human beings. And Claude taught us so much. And Claude, on our very first day of shooting, and Joanne knew nothing, and I knew less than that. And so we wrote this script, and we hired this guy Claude from a friend who told us, well, Claude is he did Hockey Night in Canada for years. He's done car racing. He knows camera. His dad was a cameraman. His son is now a cameraman, pro, and so he was a real pro. So I do this shot in our golf episode, and we hit the shot, and the ball goes up, and then we cut in a shot where the ball goes right next to the hole, so I look like a pro. And then, but in the wide shot, I hit the shot, and then I grab clubs, and they're in a cart, and I grab them, and the cart falls over, and Claude just yells out, keep going, you're going to use it, keep going. So I pick up the cart, and then I go off. But I wanted to look cool because I just made a great shot and whatever. And Claude came to me and says, that's what you're going to use. That unexpected, and you're not perfect. That's what, so we edited that in. And then when we went to Participation, when we were trying to sell it after we'd gone to 42 different companies and gotten turned down, and went to Participation, they said to me, when we showed them that particular pilot episode, they said, we like that because it makes you guys look human and not perfect. And so we took that into a lot of the episodes that we'll do a little stumble, or something will happen, or a lot of times I would wink to Claude, and we know that we've got one in the can. It'd be the last shot of the day or something. And I would do some trick or something on Joanne. So like we're gardening, and I go, we got one, and Claude would say, yeah, we got two really good ones in the can. Last one. Well, now I go, okay, we're gardening. And I said, okay, I let Claude, I go over to, I got Claude, get the camera out of there, because I'm going to spray Joanne on this wide shot, and she's going to chase me. So make it a wide enough. So he's all set. Joanne doesn't know I'm going to spray her and her hair is going to go. So I knew this is the last shot of the day. So I hit her, and she tears after me and runs around, and that's the shot we used in the show. So those were a lot of things, and I must say that the people that we surrounded ourselves with, we were so lucky. Claude Garapi, Michael Strange, Phil Kawasoe, Joel Robinson, and Dave Clark. And Dave Clark was an interesting gentleman who actually, I met Dave first, and then he got me to Claude. He was a friend of Claude's. Dave actually wrote the music for BodyBreak, and he's
iconic.
And he's the one who says BodyBreak with Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. It's his voice that did it. And Dave told me, and this is why when you look back and you say, I was surrounded with such great advice and such great people. Dave said to me, he said, he goes, I think what you want to do is you want to say your name and Joanne's name in every show. That's going to resonate with people. So and I said, well, just Hal and Joe. He goes, no, say your whole name, Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod, and don't say Participation, because we didn't own Participation. Obviously, they were simply a sponsor. So it was BodyBreak, which we owned, with Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. And so when I get on the phone, and for example, I was talking to American Express, and I was talking to them about, and they said, what's your account? And they said, what's your name? I said, well, Hal Johnson. And they go, Hal Johnson, is that BodyBreak? Is that Hal Johnson BodyBreak? And I go, yeah, that is. This person sounded like he was like 25 or so. And it's like, because Dave said that, people know the name BodyBreak. And then he goes off into the BodyBreak, the guy but that happens a lot. And I credit Dave for that.
Well, and it's such simple marketing tweaks that were so effective. But I think what you spoke to there kind of relates to exactly what you were saying earlier in the conversation about the YouTube world, and how, some people are okay, some people this, some people have mass production, some people don't. But truthfully, the thing that makes any of them successful, whether they're big niche, small niche, is if they're themselves. And I know it's an overused word. I think it was actually just named the word of 2023, authentic. It's like we've said it so much that it seems inauthentic.
Right.
But that being said, it's exactly why I think you two worked so well, because you said this was our lifestyle. This was our lives. We weren't trying to put on a face and this is who we were going to be. This is just an extension of who we were. And that's why every time we saw your faces in our homes, it resonated on a deeper level because it was relatable. And those little moments too, it's like I'm that person. If I'm going to do something silly, like I walked into a glass door just the other week, I just hope somebody sees it so they can enjoy the lunacy of the moment because it's relatable. The human experience is so highly imperfect.
Yeah.
And I think more and more we have this pressure under ourselves that we have to live in this era of perfection. And I'm like, the beauty is in those granular moments where it goes a little off the rails.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's like I said earlier about the rides. It's, you don't remember that, every kilometer. You remember like on the ride, it was like 35 degrees. We're coming into a place called Cumberland. I was about 20 kilometers outside of Cumberland. And we went into this place called Pawpaw, West Virginia. And I thought I'd gone back in time into the Deliverance movie, or the banjos were playing. When I got there, I was like, whoa, because we're at a gas station, we're going in to get some drinks, and they're smoking cigarettes like right there. I'm going, that's not really safe. Like, and there's all those things you remember, that are like, this is a little bizarre, that aren't just what you norm to. And I've as I've gotten older, I've learned to embrace that, learn to embrace the things that are different. It's funny. I'll give you this example. On Friday, I was at Costco and I was driving back home. I have a 2-hour ride from Toronto, and I was driving back home. So I stopped in Barrie at the Barrie Costco, and it's Friday. It is packed. I mean, it is packed with people.
I bet now that the sample stations are back too, there's a lot of congestion.
Yeah. There's a ton of sample stations and the place is packed. And it was like, oh, geez. And I thought, you know what? Get your mindset into this is positive, and be happy and smile at people. Smile and just be positive. Well, so I go through it, and there's a couple people, and I go, oh no, you play, and the woman would smile, oh thank you, and person, oh no, you smile, and just being kind of gracious to everyone, and it was amazing. Immediately I got all that positive feedback from it, and a smile from, but I smiled at them. No, you go ahead. My fault. Sorry, as we Canadians do. No, sorry, my fault. No, sorry. And so I'm at the end of the aisle, and I get a phone call. And my Costco card, which is also my MasterCard, is in my pocket with my phone. I pull my phone out. I answer the phone. I talk a little bit, and then I go to get ready. And a guy comes up behind me, and he taps me on the shoulder. And I turn around, and I'm thinking it's somebody I'm going to know. And he points to the ground. My MasterCard's on the ground. And I looked. I said, "Thank you." And I thought, you know what? If I was a jerk and came in here, was really upset, the karma would have been, okay, you're going to lose your MasterCard here at Costco.
And someone's probably going to have some fun with it.
Well, my picture's on the back of it, so I don't know how much fun they're going to have. But it was just one of those things that I thought, yeah, I know like during the pandemic, what I tried to do as much as possible when I had the mask on is smile all the time. Because I felt the energy that you're giving off to people. They can't see your smile, but maybe you can feel my smile. And that's why when I'm on the phone, one of my professors at university, was a great course I took, Sales 101, Sales 102. And this is back in 1980, so a few years ago. And and he told me, he told the class, he said, when you're on the phone, always smile. So, because the people will hear it in your voice. And so when I would get on a phone call, I'd be always, smiling, it was so funny because I was on the phone so much trying to get sponsors, trying to get things. And I'd be in my house coat, but I'd be smiling away like crazy out there, and so it's a technique, that now, it's funny with Zoom and these types of things that you're on, people have to smile, I guess, or be like a little more.
Good thing it's my default setting, like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So mine too. So,
well, and it is so important. I think especially now, I think every generation always says the world's changed so much, but I think it's fair to say the world has changed so much in a substantial way. We've never been so connected, but disconnected at the same time. And it really just takes one person to spread that energy to reverb back in a positive way, because you are kind of combating a lot of negative energy that's bouncing around in the world. And so I think taking the stance that you do, or as I try to do when I live my life, coming in and spreading that positivity. But I know infectious is a little bit of a terrifying word these days, but that's the kind of infectious we need. Infectious positivity. You can't help it when, even if you're in the worst mood and you encounter someone like that, it can then swing their day in the right direction.
Absolutely. And whether you open a door for somebody, you say thank you to somebody, try to be gracious to everyone and humble. I mean, to everyone. And I really feel that I am better than no one and no one is better than me. And so whoever you're dealing with at that time, I always think they're the most important person to me in the world. I like when I'm dealing with a mechanic with my truck, he's the most important person. I don't really need to see my dentist now because I'm not dealing with my dentist. He's not important to me. This mechanic is really important to me. And so if you try to treat people that they're the most important person to you right now, I think and value everybody has value. And I think that's the thing with BodyBreak. And we have been so fortunate in meeting so many people across the country, and people that we would never have met in all different places, from Yellowknife to Whitehorse to Newfoundland, all across the country. And what you realize is that people are basically all the same. We all want the best for our kids. We all want essentially the same. We may not agree on how to get there, but maybe if we talk about how we can get there, maybe I'll see a little bit of your point.
You have understanding and empathy for their lens. It doesn't need to be your lens, but you can understand where their perspective is coming from, which allows you ultimately to maintain a human connection. But, when you look at that, as you said, 36 years of BodyBreak, I know that anyone getting rejected over 40 times, it would have been very easy after the 10th time to say, forget it, I'm going to quit. It was not your style. You persevered. The two of you created something so unbelievably iconic, to the fact that no matter where you go, I'm sure people are still stopping you left and right. You became a Halloween costume sold in stores. You've ended up traversing the country in the amazing race as hardy adventurers, and the adventures continue. So when you kind of reflect on this big experience, what are your sentiments and what would be your overarching message for people?
Well, you mentioned the Amazing Race, and the Amazing Race was absolutely fantastic. And what that race taught me is that we are our own producers of our life. We have to all create our own amazing race. We've got to go out there and do it on our own. There isn't going to be a TV station that puts on a thing that you jump into and you do that. You have to do that each and every day. So I look now to what my adventures are. And so I have to create those adventures. And if that's where I literally look at turn on the computer and I go to Air Canada with all of our Aeroplan points, and I go, okay, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? What adventure are we going to do? So last April, I got an Aeroplan. I found this kind of sneaky way to use the Aeroplan that we could fly to Abu Dhabi for very few points in business class. And I was able to get that. And I surprised Joanne. I said, she's always wanted to go to Dubai. So we flew to Abu Dhabi, drove up to Dubai, and it was a great adventure. And I think that's where, if we look at our lives and say, everything is an adventure, and you don't want to have a regret. Saying that, I should have done this. There's a couple of things that I want to do. And I hate the bucket list thing. It's just I go, you know what, this is what I want to do. And as you get older, things change. What you want, what is important to you. And so I'm kind of, I don't want to be away from home too much. I really enjoy my home. But I still like to get out there and travel. So.
Well, you both are an inspiration, and Hal, I really appreciate it. I know you keep a busy schedule, so I just am so thankful to have had this conversation. And I look forward to seeing this luxury travel situation that I feel needs to happen. You've got something there. So take us along for the ride, will ya?
Will do. And until next time, keep fit, and have fun.
You've just listened to the All Things Fitness and Wellness podcast, hosted by Chrissy Van. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World, your fitness, your way. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry insiders and influencers. Together, we're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well.